What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Quadcast, the show where we get real, get raw, and get loud about mental health, substance use, and the fight to take our lives back.
Each episode, we're cutting through the stigma, dropping knowledge, sharing stories, and bringing the heat with guests who have lived it and aren't afraid to talk about it.
So turn it up, lock in, and let's break barriers, spark change, and build a community that refuses to stay silent. You're tuned into the Quadcast, and let's get into it.
You can find us on Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, or email us. The Quadcast is always looking for new guests, whether you're individuals that have experienced it, you're in law enforcement, treatment programs, nurses, doctors, or anyone that just has something to say. Come share your story with us on mental health or substance abuse.
Warning, there's cussing in this video. If you don't like swear words, well, you're watching the wrong damn show. What does being a parent in recovery mean to you now?
It means everything to me. But it means that I can love my children as they deserve to be loved. It means that no matter what my children walk through as adults, I will be there to support them and walk with them through it. It also means that even though I make mistakes, I'm going to say it's okay, because there can be a lot of guilt and condemnation there as a parent in recovery. And we've got to learn to let go of that.
Sure. What barriers, being financial, emotional, social, did you face while trying to get help?
A lot. While I did not go to an inpatient rehab facility or anything like that, any time that I was trying to, well, I don't even know if I ever really tried to get in recovery, but there's not, financial barrier is huge. There is not enough support out there financially for people trying to get in recovery. I mean, if you look at a single mom with 4 daughters, had I've went somewhere, I would have lost the house I was renting. Who would have kept my kids unless it would have been the state? Child care would have been huge. I would have probably lost my job. So I would have gotten out and not, where would I have started?
Mhm.
I wouldn't have had a house. I wouldn't have had a job. And I would like to say in the year 2025, almost 2026, things are better, but they're not. They're not. Well, I mean, there's a lot more resources.
For what it is, they're not.
But it's really not. It's really not. I mean, there's people.
There's resources, but there is no future support in, re-entering the workforce. Because re-entering the workforce requires you to be away from home, right? So what jobs in West Virginia are out there that you can make a living to provide childcare, vehicle maintenance, gas, outside of a gas station, fast food, or a restaurant service? Like, what jobs are in West Virginia?
Right.
And that's a big topic in Brian Helton's op-ed, is workforce reentry, because as a state, we have the lowest participation in our workforce overall per capita. So what do we do as a state to be able to help that? And just my ignorance and having communication or conversations with other people, is there, Brian outlines that we spend $240 million last year on Suboxone and methadone based treatment programs in the state. If we could fix that system, what part of that 240 million could go towards creating a state-based workforce? There's plenty of infrastructure and things out here that we could put people to work doing to provide them with that first step towards that workforce reentry to where they can, start getting a paycheck, or, the state fund, pay for their rent in a, housing for a little while, or help them with childcare to help them re-enter the workforce. Like, what could we be doing as a state to work towards
Yeah.
that? $240 million is a lot to spend on Suboxone, methadone, Medicaid-based treatment programs. We talked before, with the Suboxone, the MAT programs and stuff. But at what point do we look at other things? Because, people see that there is no future outlook to workforce reentry because, felons can't get hired everywhere. But, if you have drug addiction past, most of that's going to kick you out of most interview processes. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is, and, unless it's, mom and pop shops that have dealt with it, or have, are
Right.
interested in helping people. Corporations, they don't want that. So, like, at what point do we switch and be like, hey, we have to support the further ground, not just the
immediate.
immediate
Yeah.
recovery process?
Yeah, so on that subject of reentry and workforce, so the federal prison in Alderson, I've been involved with doing some things there.
Mhm.
And last month I finished up, I had 34 inmates in a peer recovery support class.
Mhm.
So they're now trained, they have their certificates.
Nice.
So when they get out and go wherever they're releasing to, they can enter into the peer recovery workforce.
Good.
But that working with those ladies as closely as I have been and still am, I hear from their perspective the barriers,
Sure.
and it hurts my heart so bad because it's
With going through that and working with them, like, were they open to the aspect of following that journey?
absolutely the
I-
testimonies
And
that came out of
I've
that.
been down there a little bit through my law enforcement, and, honestly, never met anybody bad down there. They've all been great that I've dealt with.
Especially.
Obviously you get your certain ones, but the ones that I've directly dealt with have been, they fell apart in hard times and ended up in prison. There was a lot of them that got sent to prison over working under a doctor that was prescribing medications that he shouldn't have been prescribing.
Right.
And, in the whole process, they get arrested and get sent to prison for it.
Yeah, that's huge. There was a lady, the last day of class, I think she's in her 50s, but she said, "Do you realize how much this is going to help us?" She said, "This is the first time in my life that I will be able to have a professional career."
Really.
And I'm like,
Do
okay,
you know what she did before she?
nothing legal.
Okay.
I don't know what she did. I'm sure she had jobs,
Sure.
but
Nothing legal.
but
All right.
I'm sure she had legal jobs, but she never did say. So
Sure.
maybe she didn't. But there's some ladies like that work fast food and things like that.
Mhm.
But it took off so much in there that there's already a group of them. They're coming up with a plan to offer peer support within the prison system. And if they haven't yet, they're getting ready to present that to the warden to be able to do that. And I mean, it just like that's probably my favorite part now, because I love my street outreach too. But
Sure.
street outreach and working with the ladies at the prison, it's changing their lives even before they get out. And
That's a big aspect in my mind, is the rehabilitation
I love it.
from, jail or prison back into the community. And I think we're severely failing at that
Yeah.
because
Agree.
the amount of people that we just kick out and make them fend for themselves.
Yeah.
We sit around here and we're like, oh, nobody's working, but we're not giving them the availability to
Right.
do any kind of work. And that kind of goes back with the state funded, work program or whatever. I think there are things out there that we could be doing to help support that further. Just like, the training them to be peer support.
Yeah.
That's huge for them because
It
that
is.
gives them a purpose to work
Absolutely.
towards. And, which is obviously mostly what people are looking for anyways, is a purpose, which is 9 times out of 10 why they ended up in prison in the first place. Is they didn't have a purpose,
Right.
or they had the wrong kind of purpose that they
Right.
thought was a purpose.
Yes. Yes.
So that's really cool. So how was this the first program that you did
It was
down
the
at the
first
prison?
one, yes.
Are
I've been doing a
you-
recovery
Are
support
you
group
looking
there
at
for a
doing
while.
more?
Absolutely. I'll start another one down there after the first of the year.
Nice.
Hopefully it'll stay. I love it.
So what is the relationship between addiction and mental health from your professional standpoint? Like what aspect of what ratio plays into another?
A lot. I think it encircles each other. I think that there are people that struggle with mental health that hasn't struggled with substance use and vice versa. But I also think possibly that, well, I've seen it. If you start using for whatever reason, say you were in an accident and the doctors prescribed you pain medicine and that's what started you on addiction and you did not have mental health, didn't struggle with mental health, I think you will be being in addiction. You know what I mean?
So yes, I do. But from my personal level, I went through a traumatic incident. Let's say, let's look at it from a different aspect of, yeah, that doctor prescribed you pain medicine, which may started your addiction, but what level of that was mental health related from the actual accident?
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
you going back to your personal background and how you viewed yourself, you know, I had an instance of that after mine of, hey, I'm in a wheelchair now. I went from being a police officer, canine handler, a dad, like all of that. And now I'm in a wheelchair, hands not the same. Like I don't have the same amount of capabilities. So, at what point do we actually look at it in full scale
Yeah.
of mental health probably played a lot more into that than
Absolutely.
just the doctor prescribing the
Yeah.
medicine.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a rabbit hole in itself, but it leads me, it if you look at it, the mental health side of things is way bigger than we're actually
Oh, I agree.
giving it.
100%. 100%.
Because,
Yeah.
in all aspects, I think we can honestly look back and question, was mental health the problem or was it the doctor that prescribed it? And I would tend to reason with it was a mental health issue before it turned into addiction. And I think we're overlooking that in a lot of aspects.
I agree. It is overlooked.
Because, you touched on your traumatic childhood. What level of that
Yeah,
was
that's
mental
true.
health that led you to addiction? It led you to alcohol. It led you to others. Like, you went through the instance with your brother. Like it's a mental health crisis, and I think we're overlooking
Yeah,
it a
I
lot.
agree. It does go hand in hand. Absolutely.
First responders,
Yeah.
they get off, we see bad shit all the time. Get off work and go home and drink. And that's a mental health problem. It's not a substance abuse problem. Like mental health led you to that.
Right.
And I think we're doing a very disjustice in not considering that fact. And we're not doing enough because, in the state and in the country alone, there's very minimal mental health services that are accessible and open enough for people to reach out and
Right.
work towards. Most first responders, they don't think they have a mental health problem until it's too late. And, I've lost friends and we've all lost friends to it. And like I told you before we started recording, I didn't start working on my mental health side until 4 years ago, and that was 4 years into my accident. I had already had years of fire service and law enforcement on top of that, and I never thought I had a problem
Right.
until I was in this situation and I started dwelling on it and was in a black spot. So in your point of view, what could we be doing differently on the mental health side that, I mean, obviously there's a lot, but from what you see, what more could we be doing on the mental health side to try and battle this?
I don't know what the answer is. I wish I can use this as an example of the person that I was talking about before on the West End that is in mental health crisis and has been, that's also had inpatient. And it kind of goes with reentry from jails and prisons.
Mhm.
She was released from a mental health facility without a place to live. How can that be? So we absolutely need more mental health facilities, but it needs to be expanded to where they offer a lot more wraparound services. Work with the community that your person is being released to when they're finished with their treatment. Get them hooked up with HUD or whatever to provide safe housing. Get them hooked up with a doctor or a mental health center before they even leave. Like, do a telehealth appointment with them so that they're comfortable with that person
Right.
when they get out. Had that have been done, she may be in a home right now and she may be in a good place mentally.
So there needs to be more or less,
It's like you just open the door and kick them to the curb.
yeah, and like there needs to be I don't even know how you say it, but a program that you're put in upon, exiting. There needs to be an exit program from jail, mental health treatment, substance, treatment. Like there needs to be an exit program, kind of like we talked earlier of, the state funded, work program or something like that. There needs to be an exit program that they fall into after that instead of just straight back out on the street.
Yes. And I mean, as far as that goes, why could it not, since substance use and mental health go hand in hand, why could it not be, say you're in detox, and from detox you go to an inpatient recovery facility. From inpatient recovery facility, you go to sober living before you're out
Right.
completely on your own. Why couldn't that roll over into the mental health side of it? Why couldn't they be in the mental health facility and then go to, for lack of better words, we'll use a halfway house to where there's still like an apartment complex rather than it being a manager's office, like a director's office. They have mental health services there, but they're living on their own before they are literally out on their own.
Right. To kind of give them that rehabilitation to
Yes.
actually, and I'm we're kind of dealing with a personal experience right now with a person that has aged out of the foster care program, and he's not had to have a job, and he's not had to be responsible for himself. He's used to living day by day and fending for his life and out on the street. And there needs to be that rehabilitation to get them back in a routine of providing for themselves or being somewhere at a certain time, and saving money, and
Yeah.
there's
Life
there
skills.
there's yeah,
Life
life
skills.
skills. We had what, home ec in high school,
Way back
right?
when. Yes.
So I don't even know if they have it anymore, but we did when I was still in school, but it probably wasn't what home ec used to be.
All right.
But we didn't learn taxes and stuff like that in high school.
Right.
So somebody that has dealt with substance or mental health problems since they were a child probably didn't motivate themselves in school and
Right.
actually
Right.
get educated. So they still don't know that. And you just toss them right back out on the street to find a job or
Yeah.
manage finances. Like that aspect isn't in their brain. Like
Right.
they don't even know, they didn't learn how to do that in the beginning. So how do you expect them to do it now? So I mean, that's just another that goes back to the whole system is failing.
Hopefully.
Like the whole system is
Yeah.
failing, and like there's no one set cure to the whole
Right.
thing. Um, what treatment models or therapies have you found most effective for co-occurring disorders, being co-occurring substance and mental health? Are there any that, with recovery being different for everybody, I'm sure that's kind of hard to.
Ask another question.
Okay.
I don't, it's just that whole, I will go back to the wraparound services. Wraparound services are so important with those.
What mental or emotional barriers do clients most often face during treatment?
I would have to say, if this counts as that, fear of judgment.
Sure. And that kind of leads into this one. How important is community or social support in maintaining both mental health and sobriety?
Huge. You have to have it, or it's going to be epic fail.
Sure. What are some common challenges that you as a professional face when treating addiction or mental health together? Like, are there barriers that you face?
Resources.
Resources.
I can, especially if it involves those dealing in mental health crisis and in substance use that do not have a home.
Sure.
Because there's times that I give people a trash bag to put over them to keep the weather from getting to them, hopefully.
Sure.
And that's a huge barrier. It all goes together. The barriers, transportation, resources, and funding.
So one of the things in Brian Hilton's op-ed was how West Virginia pretty much leads the nation in just about everything. One of the things was we had the lowest workforce participation. The other was we lead in children that are born with substance issues. How does access to medical care affect the treatment process? Like the access people have to it. Because, we're in this process now with the hospital doing away with OB services. And you just brought up transportation. So by doing that, obviously we already have the highest numbers. So we're going to take that away and require pregnant women to travel at least an hour to Beckley. But we bring up transportation services or transportation alone, they have nothing. So that only takes away from the medical care that they're going to get, feeding into that number, as well as the amount of, West Virginia leads in home removals in CPS. There's an underlying cause there. One, CPS is severely understaffed. Two, we just had a investigation come out that CPS wasn't doing their full job anyways. Yes, it goes hand in hand with being understaffed, but we're wanting results-based programs, but we can't even run the programs that we have. What, people seek help, but they fear the consequences of losing their kids. How do we combat that without the community and social support that they need and still provide them with services?
Wish I had
Without,
answers.
like that's just how deep I think into
Yeah.
things and the rabbit holes that I go down, because people want to complain that it's one thing or another when it's the whole system.
Right. It is.
We want people to seek help, but if they seek help, they're probably going to lose their kids.
Right.
So in what aspect, yes, those kids are not in a good environment, but back to what we talked about earlier, a place that supports parents,
Yes,
single parents,
absolutely.
or married
Absolutely.
couples with kids
Absolutely.
in the support of it. Like, I don't know how we get from where we're at to where we need to go. And like I said,
That's the problem.
exactly. And
Yeah.
either way you look at it, you're going to face backlash from what Brian says is the industry.
Yeah.
The industry being big pharma, because they're making money on it. And that's what's gotten us here in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how we get there.
Me either.
We
have to do something different though.
Something has to change.
I just don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either. But when you start going down the rabbit holes, everything's connected in one way or
Absolutely.
the other. And it's not just one problem or another. It's the whole system in itself.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything that you want to touch on that we haven't touched on from your professional side of things? Any other roles that you've had that have seemed beneficial that you would like to see maybe come back around, or treatment programs that you thought worked in the past that have kind of went away?
No, but I will share this while I have the opportunity,
Okay.
and it's not a good thing.
Well, we'll take good and bad.
Especially in this community, and I'm not sure what it's like in bigger communities. I hear it's the same problem, but in the realm, from what I've seen personally and professionally, there's a lot of competition out there.
Competition
As far as people from one recovery facility or behavioral health facility wants to be the ones doing all the work.
Okay.
There's people that work in the recovery field that want their name out there with everything that they're doing.
Don't talk about Dave like that.
Hey, Dave is a great guy. But no, Dave makes a reputation for himself because he gives so much. But
he does.
Yeah.
Dave's a great guy.
But here's my thing. Yes, there's multiple organizations doing the same thing in a small community. But it's okay, because in our small community, there's a lot of need. But what we have to do before we're truly going to make a change is we have to take ourselves out of it. Like, I have to take Jennifer out of it, and I have to work together with other organizations before we're truly going to make a difference. Because if we can't come together as a whole, offering the same services and resources, how do we truly expect community members to come together to make a difference? This past week, I had to reach out to the peer support at Robert Seberg Clinic and say, hey, can you all offer to support to someone struggling with this? We work together. We don't try to take clients from each other. Does that make
Sure.
sense? But I see so much competition out there in our community with peers from different organizations, and there's no sense in it because one person may not, our personalities may not flow.
Right.
I may need to do what we call a warm handoff with them and refer them to another peer support.
Mhm.
And that's the way it should be. We should be working together instead of against each other
Sure.
because we all want our names out there. Does that make sense?
It does. And, that's a topic that hasn't come up yet in my dealings. But with that, it brings a question to me. Do you think that like an overall set of like standards and guidelines within the behavioral health and substance abuse recovery treatment programs would benefit the overall aspect of it? Like, not necessarily that, everybody offering the same services, but across the board, say a standardization of mental health support. Like if you offer this program and somebody else offers it, you're combating it the same way in a sense that creates a standardization to where it helps you guys work together as a network. Kind of like a healthcare network of
Well, there's a
hospitals.
network out there.
There's
There's a network out there. And I mean, it does. So Care Coalition meets monthly, and that's where everybody comes together.
Okay.
So we are networking with each other. It's just, that's one of my biggest pet peeves with this. Like, I love doing stuff in the community, but I don't want people knowing what I'm doing
right,
because it's not about me.
right,
But I see in this realm of work, people do broadcast it in a sense.
sure.
And I mean, you have to let people know the good things you're doing to see that a difference is being made.
It's highlighting the thing that you're doing and the services that you have to provide instead of yourself, right? Is what you're meaning?
I mean, and people are arrogant and conceited, and that's what I mean.
Sure.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's a professional, but it's a very humbling job. And I wish in our community we could come together more instead of working separately more to make a bigger difference.
Sure.
Because if somebody leaves me supporting them and goes to another peer support, that's not going to rob me of my job because there's so much help needed out
Right.
there. We don't have to compete with each other to do what we're doing.
And recovery is different from each aspect.
Absolutely.
So, if one thing's not working, then
Absolutely.
passing off to the next instead of just putting a band-aid on it
Absolutely.
and saying, oh, we're going to keep treating you
Absolutely.
because we can do this better than anybody else can.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. I get that. So it's on a personal outlook that people have to find within themselves
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be
Anyway.
to actually provide the care that people need instead of worrying about their corporation.
Right.
Which brings me, I've seen this on your Facebook this morning. Ketamine.
Yeah.
I know there are some medical assisted ketamine treatments out there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what you were meaning in your post. Can you talk about that a little bit? That's something that I've not went down. Like, so how is ketamine coming into people's lives?
It's just another drug that they're using. There was actually ketamine in my brother's system
Really?
that was one of the drugs that was in his system when he overdosed and died.
I know it's super strong and there are the medical treatments out there that are ketamine related.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say that I know of the street side of things of how ketamine is, what it is, and what I know you posted like a ton of facts on the negative side of ketamine.
Right. It'll kill you.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of them
fentanyl will too,
yeah.
but we're still doing that.
Yeah.
What's the ratio of people having ketamine over, other things at this point? Like, we go through processes where one thing's more common than another.
Yeah.
when did ketamine enter the picture?
Years ago. I'm not sure what the ratio is now, honestly. I don't hear of it that often, but my brother passed away in 2019 and it was out there. And I know it's becoming more common, but I'm not sure the ratio of it. I don't hear of it that often with the people that I serve. I don't know if it's because they can't get their hands on it. I don't know how easy it is for people to get their
Sure.
hands on it.
And that's what I'm very I
Yeah.
have no idea about it. And like
Yeah.
I seen your Facebook post, like I knew of the ketamine assisted medical treatments, but
Yeah.
I knew ketamine was out there, but you don't hear about it a lot.
Right.
It's
I
they
don't
go
hear
through
about
phases.
it that much.
Have you ever, and this is just a thought of mine or a question of my own, but I listened to another podcast and it has a lot of veterans and prior, CIA, top level guys that have seen a heck of a lot more than anybody else can even imagine. But they're doing psychedelic treatment. Have you ever heard of
No, I
psychedelic?
haven't yet.
So it's not done in this country, and there's several people that have went through the treatment, but with the psychedelic side, it treats them with a drug that makes them literally relive every step of their past and what they've been through. And it's a way to help them treat their PTSD and mental health side of things. And it's not something that a lot of people have heard of because it's not done in this country. Like I want to say they're going to Mexico to do it.
Wonder how that's working. Like I wonder if it's benefiting people, if it's helping them work through.
Sure. So they say it's a wild ride.
I can't imagine.
Because it's literally just making you hallucinate, basically. And but the guys that I've heard talk about it say that it does help. It's not something that I'm probably gonna ever try, but there's not. I coming from your background, I didn't know if that's something that anybody has ever
I haven't
talked about or
No.
discussed. And I think it's just come around in the last couple of years to where they're actually going through with it. But there are a lot of, top level military operators that are receiving that treatment that have said that there are benefits to it, but that it's an extremely wild ride. And I don't think it's a wild ride that I'll ever take, but if it helps, it helps. But finding somebody that knows anything about it is because there's not that much information out there, and I don't believe everything I see on the internet, so I'm not just going to Google it and go off of that information. So, but it's something that I'm trying to find somebody that knows something about.
Yeah. No, I haven't heard of that.
There's a lot, I mean, there's a lot of treatments out there, but there's a lot more coming around. And I'm very ignorant to the medical side of things.
Me too, for the most part.
I like to live in the real world. So is there anything else you'd like to touch on? Anything we didn't discuss?
I mean, there's a lot we didn't discuss.
Any big things that we didn't discuss that we want to talk about?
I don't think so.
No. Thank you for coming on. And
absolutely.
If you think of anything down the road, we can start another one.
Absolutely.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Quadcast.
Remember, breaking stigma doesn't stop when the episode ends. We're building a movement, and you're a part of it. Stay strong, stay aware, and stay connected.
And this is the Quadcast, signing out.